are on Memhe Amud Aleph, where it says Dechiata Rav Dimi. We're in the middle of a discussion here. The first one on the line is Rebbe. It says Rebbe he, and then it says Dechiata Rav Dimi. So we're in the middle of discussing what's the halacha about the father is Eved or Oved Kochavim, and the mother is a Bat Yisrael. So what's the status of the child? So we said that Rebbe holds that the status of the child is it's mamzer. Yeah, Rebbe holds of Vlad mamzer. So Dechiyata Rav Dimi Amar b'Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi. Right, when Rav Dimi came, he said in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi Mishum Rabbeinu, in the name of Rabbeinu, in the name of Rebbe, Amru Oved Kochavim ve'Eved Habal Bat Yisrael Havlad Mamzer, that child is a mamzer. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Omer Havlad Mikulkal. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says the child is Mikulkal. There's something with the child, but it's not necessarily a mamzer. Now, Leman, what does it mean Mikulkal? Ilema lakahal. If you're going to tell me that it means Mikulkal lakahal and it has the status of a mamzer and it's not able to marry into kahal, Ha'amar Rabbi Yoshua Havlad kasher. Rabbi Yoshua holds the Vlad is kasher, so it's not a mamzer. So el lekehuna. So when it says mikulkal, it means mikulkal for kehuna.
What's the mikulkal means?
Mikulkal means like there's something wrong with it. It's like messed up. So something wrong with it doesn't mean mamzer. It means it's mikulkal lekehuna. That child is mikulkal for kehuna. That cannot marry Kohen. Dekulu amorai de machshiri modu shavlad pagum lekuna. That everybody who says that it's kasher, meaning we have big machloket. Some opinions say that this child is kasher. Some opinions say this child is mamzer. According to the ones that say it's kasher, but it's pagum lekuna. Mikal vachomer me'almana. How do we know this? We have a kal vachomer from almana to a kohen gadol. Ma almana lekohen gadol she'en isura shaveh bakol bena pagum. When it comes to almana to kohen gadol, it's a low-grade isur because her isur only applies to this relationship, almana and kohen gadol. The isur almana doesn't apply to everybody; it only applies to kohen gadol, and still that relationship creates a child that's pagum. Zu she'isura shaveh bakol enodin shebena pagum. Over here, oved kochavim to a bat Yisrael, that isur is equally applies to everybody. It's not only for kohanim. And still the child is what's it called? So for sure the child should be pagum. So the Gemara says, well, mal almana lekohen gadol sheken hi atzma mitchalelet. Almana herself becomes pasul to a kohen through that relationship. So maybe almana is different, and that's why the child becomes pasul to a kohen. The Gemara says, no, hachanami kevan shenivala pasla. Also over here, by a lady who's with an Oved Kochavim or an Eved, she also becomes pasul through this relationship. So it should be the same like an almana, and the child should also be pasul to a kohen. Now, how do we know that the lady herself becomes pasul when she's together with a Eved or Oved Kochavim? So Dam Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon Minayin leOved Kochavim ve'Eved abal Kanaanit v'al Leviya v'al ha-Kohenet v'al Leviya v'al ha-Yisraelit shepasluha. How do we know that if an Eved or Oved Kochavim is together with a Kohenet, Leviya, Yisraelit, doesn't matter? How do we know that they make her pasul kehuna? Shneimar, it says in the pasuk, Uvat Kohen ki tiyeh almana ugrusha. So it says a bat kohen when she's an almana or a girusha, then if she's going back to her father's house, then she's allowed to have teruma. She's allowed to have certain halachot of being a bat kohen will apply to her. But what do you see from that pasuk? When she was married and she either became an almana or grusha and she goes back to her parents' house, to our kohanim, she can have truma. But that's when she was misha yeshlo almanut vegerushin ba. She was in a relationship with somebody who is shayach to make her an almana or a grusha. Yatzeu oved kochavim ve'eved she'en lahem almanut vegerushin ba. But if she had a relationship with an Oved Kochavim or an Eved, they don't have shaychut to kiddushin on her. There's no she's not an almana, she's not an avelut. There's no almana when if she was with one of them and they die, and there's no gerushin. There's no get between her and them. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they don't allow her to go back to her family's house and act as a bat kohen. They posel her. Amar le Abaye. So Abaye says, 1 second. Why are we relying on Rav Dimi? We brought earlier, Rav Dimi. Rav Dimi said that Rebbe holds that she is that the child is a mamzer, right? The child of a Bat Yisrael and an Oved Kochavim is a mamzer. Rav Dimi is the one that came and said this is the opinion of Rebbe. So Abaye is challenging. Why are we all relying on what Rav Dimi said? Simuch ad Ravin. Why don't we rely on what Ravin said? We have a different testimony from Ravin on what Rebbe holds. The Chiyat Ravin Amar Rabbi Natan v'Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. When Ravin came, he said that Rabbi Natan and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi say they morim ba lehetera. They say that there is a heter. Right? Uman Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Who is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi? Rebbe. It's Rebbe. So we see that we have Rebbe who, according to Ravin told us that Rebbe holds that she is that the child is not a mamzer. So we have Rav Dimi telling us Rebbe holds the child is a mamzer. Ravin tells us Rebbe says the child is not a mamzer. So Abaye is challenging. Why do we rely on Rav Dimi? What about Ravin? Ve'af Rav more bahetera, and even Rav. Now the Gemara is bringing, before we brought all the opinions that say the child is a mamzer. Rav says that more bahetera, that the child is heter. Daud at lekamid Rav Amar leo v'chameved abba Yisrael mahu. Somebody one time came to Rav and asked him this question: what's the halacha with an oved kochavim and an eved that comes on a bat Yisrael? So Amar lo havlad kasher. Rav told him the child is kasher. Amar le havli bartech. So this guy, he was the son of an oved kochavim and a bat Yisrael. So he goes to Rav. He says, "Listen, what's the halacha? What's the halacha with somebody like me? My father is oved kochavim, and my mother is a bat Yisrael. What's the halacha?" So Rav said, "Kasher." Huh?
You mean do avodah zarah?
Oved kochavim just means goy in this context.
Oh, in this context is goy?
Yeah.
Does that mean avodah zarah?
No. So Rav told him. Havlad kasher. Rav told him, if that's the case, that's kasher. So Amar le havli bartech. So he said, okay, let me marry your daughter. I'm kasher. I'll marry your daughter. Lo yevna lach. He said, no, I'm not going to give you. So Amar Simi Barchia. So Simi Barchia said le Rav, Amri Inshi, he said, there's a phrase that people say that Gamla b'madai akava rakta, that the camel in Madai, it dances in a kav, in a small area, it could dance. Meaning like, they say that in this place this happens. So hakava, hagamla, v'madai v'lorakta. You go there, you're in, you see a camel, you're in Madai, you see a kav, but it's not dancing in there. So people are, it's an expression that basically what it means is, they say that in this place this happens, but it's not really true. So over here also, people are going to think that, you just say this, that like, oh yeah, kasha, but it's not really true because you're not acting on it. Why don't you give him your daughter? So, Amar le, he said, even if this guy was like Yoshua ben Nun, doesn't matter. I don't want to. Obviously, he saw there was some issue with this guy. He said, I don't want him to marry my daughter. Lo yevnele barti. Amalei avik Yoshua ben Nun. So the guy said, listen, if he was like Yoshua ben Nun, then somebody else. Nothing. He's saying even if he was like Yoshua ben Nun, still I don't want to.
You're my daughter.
Yeah, I don't want. For whatever reason, whatever the reason, I don't want.
Man, he wants to tell him that it's not the reason that you are.
Yeah, basically, it doesn't have to do with
that family. I'm not going to give it to you, but my daughter, she doesn't want to give it to this guy either.
Right, exactly.
Just want to make him feel better. Yeah.
Right. So he said no, but if the guy was like Yoshua ben Nun, okay, somebody else would marry him. But this guy, nobody else is gonna marry him. Let your daughter marry. So, so. If you don't give your daughter to him, nobody's gonna do it. It sounds like this was a very big machloket. That is this case that the father is Oved Kochavim, is the child of Mamzer or not? It was a very, very big machloket. So I said, listen, if you put your money where your mouth is, then people are gonna, if you don't do it, nobody's gonna do it, and it's gonna cause a lot of people to not have shidduchim. So it's a big deal over here. So either way, Lavakaza come in. This guy wasn't leaving. This guy kept on pressuring Rav, give me your daughter, give me your daughter. He wasn't stopping to bother Rav. He wasn't leaving. So Rav looked at him and he died. You have this in the Gemara.
Looked at who? Looked at the boy?
At the guy who was pressuring Rav.
You say what again?
Rav, the guy came and he wasn't stopping. He said, "Give me your daughter." Rav said, "No. Come on, this, that, the other," and Rav said, "Listen, no," and the guy wasn't stopping, and yeah, and Rav looked at him and he died.
Who died?
The guy.
The boy.
Yeah.
Why? What the boy's fault?
Good. So I think the idea is you have this.
I thought the Rav died.
No. You have this in a few places in the Gemara that one of the Amoraim is able to look at somebody
to die, but I mean, he didn't do anything wrong.
So I think that the idea is that Rav was worried. No, I think, and maybe that's also that he wasn't accepting the authority of Rav, but also I think this was a very touchy subject, and if this guy goes out, Rav really paskins that he's mutar, right? This is a huge nafkaminas over here. If you say he's a mamzer, so he can marry another mamzer, he can't marry into kahal. He's mutar. So now everyone's gonna think if this gets out and this guy goes around and says, "Oh, Rav didn't let me," everyone's gonna think that people like this have status of a mamzer and they're not gonna be allowed to get married. It's gonna cause a lot of trouble, a lot of issues. So Hakadosh Baruch Hu had this work out in this way that this guy wouldn't make it to go spread this. Yeah.
I don't know. This is very hard to understand.
Yeah, these Gemarot are not easy to understand. Okay. Where were we? Okay. Fa'af Rav Matna more balehetera. Also Rav Matna says that it's mutar. Fa'af Rabbi Yehuda more balehetera. Also Rabbi Yehuda says that it's mutar. Techiyat lekamid Rav Yehuda amar zil amtir. Zil itmir. O nasiv bat minach. When somebody came to Rabbi Yehuda for this type of situation, he said, "Listen, my father is Oved Kochavim, my mother is Bat Yisrael. What do I want to get married? What do I do? Am I mamzer? Am I not?" So he told him, "Go zil itmer. Go to a place where you're in hiding, like nobody knows you, and over there people are not going to know your situation. You could get married to anybody in the kahal."
And right now we don't call him mamzer, really.
No, we'll get to the halacha in a moment. Or Nasif Bat Minach, or marry somebody else like you, that their mother is Bat Yisrael and the father is Oved Kochavim. Rava. Also, someone like this came to Rava. When he came to Rava, Amar Le, O Gali, O Nasif Bat Minach. Same thing. Either go to Galut, meaning go to a place where nobody knows you, and then you could get married, or you marry somebody else who also comes from your same type of family situation. Shalchu Le Bnei Be Michse Le Rabba. So Bnei Be Michse, they asked Rabbah the following: Misha Chatzio Eved v'Chatzio Ben Chorin Habal Bat Yisrael Mahu. So let's say you have somebody who's half Eved, half Ben Chorin. How do you have that? So the guy had two owners, and one of the owners gave him a get shechori, freed him. One of the owners didn't. So this guy,
two partners.
Yeah, two partners. So this guy is now he was an Eved Kenani. One of the shutafim freed him. So he's Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chorin. So now what's his status if he's together with Bat Yisrael? So Amalei Hashda Eved Kulo Amrinan Kasher Chetzio Mibaya. So he said, what are you talking about? Well, even if the guy is a full Eved, the child is Kasher. Of course, if he's a half Eved, his child is Kasher. So Amar Rav Yosef, Mara Dishmat Amanu. So Rav Yosef said, one second. Who's the one that says that the child is kasher? Rav Yehuda. Says Rav Yehuda. You know, one of the opinions that we mentioned that says the child is kasher was Rav Yehuda. V'Amar Rav Yehuda, Ma Misha Chetzio Ev v'Chetzio Ben Chorin Habal Bat Yisrael Oto Vlad Ein Lo Takana. Rav Yehuda says that if you have somebody who's Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chorin, who's together with a Bat Yisrael, and there's a child born, that child, Ein Lo Takana. Ein Lo Takana sounds like the child is a mamzer. There's nothing you could do about it.
What do you mean do?
So,
Why it should be mamzer?
that's the Gemara's question. The Gemara is asking a stira. On the one hand, we know that Rav Yehuda holds that if a man is, if a Eved is with a Bat Yisrael, the child is kasher. But on the other hand, Rav Yehuda says that somebody who's Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chorin, is together with a Bat Yisrael, Ein Lo Takana. That sounds like the child is a mamzer. So the Gemara is asking a stira. So the Gemara says, no, Ki itmar de Rav Yehuda kegon de Kaddish Bat Yisrael, de nimtzat tzad avdut shebo mishtamesh be'eshet ish. So the Gemara is going to fall off of this in a moment, but the Gemara is making a very, very, very interesting suggestion. That when does Rabbi Yehuda say that the child is a mamzer? That's if this guy was mekadesh the lady. So what happened? You have somebody who's chatzi eved, chatzi ben chorin. So part of him is a regular ben chorin Yisrael. Part of him is eved. So he's like two people in one, this guy. So he goes, he's mekadesh abat Yisrael. So because he has a part of him that's ben chorin, the kiddushin is a good kiddushin. But also, which makes this lady now eshet ish. She's married to him, she's eshet ish. But also he has another part of him that's eved. So if he's together with this lady, it's an eved, but together with a eshet ish. Because the part of him that's an eved is not married to her.
It's one person, is that
Yes,
right,
yes. You're right. It's one person. It's a very difficult lumdish svar. This is what the Gemara is trying to say. So the tzad of the part of him that's an eved doesn't have a heter to be with this lady. The part of him that's a ben chorin is married to this lady, but the part of him that's an eved is not. So because the part of him that's an eved is not shayach to kiddushin or any of these things. So she's an eshet ish, and he's basically being with a eshet ish, and that's why the child would be a mamzer. That's what the Gemara wants to suggest. So the Gemara says, no, that can't be. V'amri naradai mishmei de Rebbe Yaakov le'divrei posel afilu pinuya u'divrei machshir afilu be'eshet ish. The Nahardai, the people from Naharda, they say in the name of Rebbe Yaakov that the man dama who says that the child is pasul, it doesn't matter who the mother is, if the mother is eshet ish or not. And the one who says that the child is kasher, also, it's even if the mother is a eshet ish, meaning even if a oved kochavim or an eved is together with an eshet ish, the child is kasher. So it doesn't make sense that Rav Yehuda would be saying, oh, because she's eshet ish, the child is mamzer. It doesn't make a difference. And they both learn, both of these opinions that say that the child is a mamzer or the child is a kasher, they both learn it from eshet av. We'll have a few more minutes. Elam eshet av. Man de pasal, the one that says the child is pasul, is a mamzer, savar ma eshet av, do tafsi ba kiddushin. So the background is, there's an isur in the Torah of eshet av, right? A person is not allowed to be with his father's wife, even if it's not his mother, right? What's it called? Lo yisa eshet aviv, lo yila kenaf aviv, lo. Okay, I forget what the exact wording of the pasuk, but there's an isur of eshet av, and then right next to it, the following pasuk says lo yavom mamzer bekal Hashem. So we learn the halachot of mamzer from eshet av, from the isur of father's wife. So man de pasal savar, the one that says that the child of an eved and a bat Yisrael is a mamzer. So he holds ma eshet av lo tavsi ba kiddushin avlad mamzer afkod lo tavsi ba kiddushin avlad mamzer. Just like eshet av is something that kiddushin is not tofes, there's no kiddushin. So to any scenario that there's no kiddushin, the vlad is a mamzer. So over here also eved, there's no kiddushin, so the child is a mamzer. Man machshir savar ma eshet av דלדידה לא תפסי בה קידושין, לאחריני תפסי בה קידושין, להפוך עובד כוכבים ועבד לא תפסי בה קידושין כלל. So, difference is by Eshet, the other opinion holds that just like Eshet Av, there's no Kiddushin for there's Kiddushin for other people, but there's no Kiddushin right now between these two. But for other people, meaning for the man, it's Shayach Kiddushin, and for the lady, it was Shayach Kiddushin. So that creates a mamzer. But by an Oved Kochavim, he's not Shayach to Kiddushin. So the fact that there's no Kiddushin doesn't necessarily create a mamzer. Should we stop here? Okay, probably we should stop here. So Rabbi Kila Elakia. Okay, yeah.